Hello, it's Eric here, and so welcome back to my channel. And so today we're going to start a mini series on some of the well-known banking systems in the world, and so mainly I'll be focusing on three. Yeah, so the fractional reserve banking system, narrow banking, and the shadow banking. And I just find this topic fascinating. There's so much you can learn from studying the writings of some of the Bloomberg analysts. I find their analysis absolutely fascinating, and I'll do these videos if for no other reason than for just my edification. All right, so today we're going to start looking at the first system, which is the fractional reserve banking system. So let me bring up that page, and so here we are, and so. Fractional reserve banking system is, of course, the most well-known banking system in the world. Almost every country adopts this banking system. So basically, the FRB is composed of two sides. You have the liability side, and then you have the asset side. And then so on the liability side, the bank would take short-term deposits from depositors like you and me. Yeah. And then so we deposit our money into the bank, and then we expect to get a little bit of money, in the form of interest, every now and then. And then we also get the comfort knowing that our money is safe in the bank, yeah. And then so the bank owners, the bank shareholders will put in a little bit of shareholders fund, in order to make up all the money that they have in the bank, in order to lend out to customers, yeah, for profit making purposes, yeah. And so immediately you see that there was a big problem with this fractional reserve banking system. That's the huge mismatch between the short-term nature of the deposits and the long-term nature of the lending. Like for example, the deposits that the depositors' money that they deposit into the banking system are basically very, very short-term in nature. They are basically on demand. Because the customers can yank out their money anytime they want. But they won't do that because they know that pretty much 99% of the time that the money in the bank is very safe, and then at the same time they earn a little bit of interest from putting their money in the bank, yeah. So but the deposits are basically very short term, on demand in nature, and but the bank will use this money to lend out on long term projects, and these lending projects are basically long term in nature. Like for example, the bank will lend out money to home mortgages, yeah, the people who buy homes on a mortgage, and of course the mortgage loan is going to be paid out over a very, very long time, like 20, 30 years, yeah. And also the bank can lend out money for business purposes, like for example, oil and gas extraction, and then technology development and things like that, But those projects are again very long term in nature, and the banks won't get the money back, like in a few years time, So therefore, you see this huge mismatch between the short term nature of the deposits. That means the money that the bank gets from the depositors, and that the bank will turn around and use this money to fund long term project, So there's a huge mismatch between the short-term deposit and the long-term lending, And then, so then the big problem is, of course, we already saw that a couple of months ago in February, March 2023, where some of the regional banks collapsed because the short-term depositors they withdrew the money like in a flash, yeah, and so therefore the banks had to pay back the depositors' money, and but they don't have enough cash, on demand, so therefore they had to sell their long-term projects, long-term loans, yeah, at a huge discount, of course, yeah, and so therefore that is the main impetus for those regional banks collapse, and then so that's the main disadvantage of FRB, but scholars and analysts and they also think that there's actually a huge advantage to this kind of a fractional reserve banking system, and the advantage is in the form of social coordination. Social coordination in the sense that the bank is like a middleman in terms of providing funding for those long-term projects, like for example natural resource extraction or technological development. I mean, those long-term lending projects are not going to happen if there's no if there's no depositors' money going into the banking system, and and put it another way, if you ask the people like you and me, are we willing to give our money in the form of deposits and to fund those long-term projects, like for example natural resource extraction or technological development? And we will definitely say no, because people like you and me are very risk reverse, and so therefore we will never willingly give our money to fund those long-term risky projects. But unwittingly we are actually doing this, even though we are not willing to do it directly, but we are actually unwittingly doing it indirectly, because we're putting our money into the banks, and we believe that our money is safe, and at the same time we earn a little bit of interest from the banks, But then the banks will turn around and invest on our behalf, on the depositors' behalf. They'll turn around and invest on the depositors' behalf and to fund those long-term projects, long-term oil and gas extraction projects and technological development projects, things like that, And so therefore, the FRB system actually solves this societal, coordination problem, coordination problem in the sense that the system can take money from you and me, and then the system will turn around and invest in risky projects like technological developments and natural resource extraction, where the the risk-averse investors like you and me will never touch with a barge pole, And but since we are giving our money to the banks in the form of deposit, so the banks will use those money to fund those long-term risky projects. So that means we are unwittingly, people like you and me, we are unwittingly as depositors, we are unwittingly giving our money away to the bank to fund those long-term risky projects. So that's the main advantage of the fractional reserve banking system, and that is to solve this social coordination problem in terms of funding risky projects. And so there are good things and bad things about the FRB system, and so that's that, and we have to accept that, because that's the norm, that's the system that we inherited from a long time ago. And but in the next video, we're going to look at some other banking systems that are trying to break away from this tradition, and try to ditch the disadvantages and try to just hold on to the advantages at the same time. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.